Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Burstner Elegance 591. It's based on the 2006 Fiat Ducato, and so the first place I'm going to show you is going to be under here, under the bonnet. On these A-class motorhomes, you don't tend to get a huge amount of space to get yourself into the engine bay, but you know, still just about enough space to do whatever you need to do. So on the left hand side there, we've got your engine battery, so that is your starter battery. At the front just here, we've got your power steering fluid, and then behind that at the back we've got your brake fluid attached to the servo. We've then got the oil filling point just here and your oil dipstick just down here as well. That's your engine oil. Over towards the right, we've got your engine coolant up there at the top, fuses and relays box, air filter in that box over on the right, and your washer fluid just down there. So, as I say, it's a little bit tight to get into those places, but it's all there, and has been serviced, ready for collection. So here on the near side of the front, we've got your diesel filling point, and then the passenger side door. On the passenger side, there's very rarely much to actually run through, if I'm honest, because the majority of it is over on the driver's side, but I'll show you that when I get into the vehicle. I'll come to the front and show you around the actual dash. These seats are proper motorhome seats where you can literally pull this little thing here towards you, or the other way, sorry, push it back, and an entire seat will lean forwards. So the beauty behind that is that that's all you have to do to get the bed to come all the way down, and then it's literally as easy as doing this and leaning back on it, and it'll come straight back up. So it takes a few seconds to get ready for the bed to come down. So we've then got the freshwater filling point just here. So this is where you fill up your fresh tank. So any time that you want any water to come through to the taps inside the vehicle just here, that's where you need to fill up the water from there. In this little lower locker just here, on the left hand side, we've got your boiler drain off point and your fuses and relays box just here. So this is the main power supply unit for the entire vehicle basically. So all of your fuses have got a little diagram telling you what they do, and so if you have any specific issues with something, you can come in here if you want to and just have a little check to make sure that that particular fuse is okay. You've also got your 240 volt charger next door to that as well. So if you ever needed any sort of, if that ever gave up on you, then you know where to look to sort that out. Obviously, if you get any problems with anything like that, you can give us a shout, but that's just giving you a rough overview of where that all is. Right, towards the back, we've got your toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette. Pull that out like this, and you can then take the entire thing out. You've got access to the rubber seal at the top. All you need to know really is that you drain it out from this point just here, so you turn it around and drain from there, and press and hold the little yellow button down as you're actually draining it out. In the cupboard below, we've got your wastewater drain off handle. So if you wanted to stop the wastewater from coming out underneath, you just need to turn that little handle there and it'll stop draining out from underneath there. So that's where that is. That is your wastewater drain off point. Tow bar at the back with the bike rack there as well. The reversing camera is up there as well, working really nicely on the dash. This locker just here on the offside is just literally access to the boiler. So this is good access to the PCB. I will show you when we get inside that you have got good access inside as well, but that's where that is really. 240 volt electric hookup point is this one just here with the yellow cover. So if you do have access to a mains cable, that is really helpful to have that plugged in. So just to the left of the habitation door, we've got these two vents just here. So these are both to do with your fridge. If you've got the fridge lit up on gas, you should be able to feel warm air coming out through this little sort of notch in this rope vent. And that'll basically just tell you for sure that it's definitely lit and working. I will show you how to use it properly when we get inside as well, obviously. But that's something that I like to do. You know, if you're just wandering past it, just put your hand like that. If you can feel hot air coming out of it, you know, you're good to go and it'll start cooling down. You've then got the awning light just there below the wind out Omnistore awning, which has been out and lubricated as part of the habitation check. This little switch just in here is for your step. So step coming in and out really nicely. Yeah, I think that's about it just for there. Then the last main locker that I need to show you is this one just down here. So as you can probably tell, that is your gas locker. So at the moment we've got this refillable, I don't know if that's 13 kilo or 11, but it's a nice big gasset bottle. The refilling point is just down here in the side skirt, and it basically just goes straight in to here. So all you need to know really from here is that to turn the bottle on, you go anti-clockwise round to the left, turn it off, go clockwise round to the right. So you should turn these off before you start driving every time. Other than that, you've got 5 years on these pigtail hoses, so you've got till 25, so next year to replace that really. That's about it really. Yeah. So gas is on at the moment, so I'm just going to come into the vehicle and show you what we've got inside. What I'll do first is just run you through the cab before I forget. So the cab itself, due to the fact that it's a Burstner, is a really nice high spec. You've got pretty much all the little sort of switches and knobs that you can ask for. So these pre-2007 cabs are some of my favorites, if I'm honest. So, you know, they're super reliable, sort of quite robust, solid, but there you go. So what we've got is your lights on the left hand stalk here, as well as your indicators. Below that, and this is an aftermarket fitment, this isn't a sort of an original thing, but you have got cruise control that's been fitted from there. Washers and wipers are on your right hand stalk just here, and then down below here on the left hand side we've got your Kenwood single din head unit, hazard lights from here in the middle, front and rear fog lamps either side, and your ASR switch there, which is another optional extra. Down below that we've got your fan speed, temperature and fan sort of location where it's going to blow the air to, and then below that we've got your air conditioning switch there as well. You've also got, on these Burstners, they have this little bit just here on the dash. Now this is basically a different location because your control panel on these, the e-control unit, is removable. You can put it down here on the dash if you want to. All right, so you can actually plug it in down there instead, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. But you can plug it in there and basically power the entire vehicle from there if you want to. Why you would do that, I've never really been 100% sure, if I'm completely honest. I'm sure there is a very good reason for it, but that's where it is anyway. You can use it from there. Reversing camera screen comes down just from there on the bottom of the bed. You do have to make sure that you have to switch that off, so this has been wired up slightly different to the way that we do it. We try and do it from an ignition live cable so that it will turn off when you turn the ignition off, but this one hasn't been done like that. So you just have to make sure that you definitely turn that off when you're finished with it, otherwise it will just stay on all the time, even if you've taken the key out. Not a big problem, it just means you have to make sure that you switch it off basically. Right, so in the back of the vehicle as I was saying a minute ago, we've got this e-control units, what they call them. So the idea behind it is that if you squeeze these two bits in top and bottom, you can take the actual control panel off. And that's how I'm saying that you can plug it in down there onto that little fascia at the front, and then it should just spring to life and allow you to do all the things I'm going to show you now. So put it back on, squeeze them in again, locate it, and let go. It then comes up saying what you can see there, e-control starting, and then we can go from there. So the top row on here is all to do with your lights. So if we scroll through, we've got kitchen, living, and sleeping. All right, so there's basically just 3 different areas of the vehicle where there are lights. So if you go and turn them all on, all of the lights will then have power going to them. So you've got these under here. Any other lights in the vehicle, if you've got all 3 of those on there, they will all work. So yeah, easy as that really. So whichever one you select, so if we click on kitchen, comes up with a little picture of a kitchen on the back there, and then you can turn it off by going over it, clicking it, and then choosing off. You can also select auto, as you probably saw just there, which basically allows you to set a timer on them. So if you wanted the lights to come on in the morning at a certain time or something like that, or at night, then you can do that from there as well. So pump is the next one. So if we press on that one there, the pump's turned on at the moment, which means that we'll have water coming through the tap. And so if you wanted to turn the pump off from there, you can do that as well. Now the thing is with this particular vehicle is you've got a submersible pump, which means that it only runs when you lift the tap up. So it's not so important to turn the pump off when you're not using it, because it will not be doing anything if the tap is down. All right, the pump will only ever run if you turn the tap up and the micro switch inside tells the tap to run. So I don't know if you better hear it or not, but if you listen, when I lift this up and down a little bit, you should hear a little clicky noise, which is basically the little micro switch inside there telling the pump to turn on. I don't know if you could hear that on the video or not, but that's essentially what that is. A little button basically that when you turn the tap on, it tells the pump to run. So even if you've got this pump switch turned to on, which it is now, it's not doing anything until you want it to. Next one is, so these two are basically just battery voltage indicators. So your engine battery there, 14 volts, that's absolutely brilliant. And then the leisure is on 14.5, which again is really, really good. So I'm assuming, or I can pretty much guarantee, you got a solar panel on the roof. Yeah, so solar controller over here, remote meter. So the solar panel on the roof of this is doing an amazing job, because normally, you'd expect it to be around something like 13 at the very best, but this is doing such a good job, it's on 14.5. So that is really, really good. So if we go across there, so you've got car and leisure batteries. Fresh water level, 25%. Wastewater level, 25%. Inside temperature, that is in Fahrenheit, but I'm sure you can change that. Well, I'm sure if you go into the settings, I'm sure you can switch between those. Outside temperature, gas 1 and 2, you haven't got all that. And there you go, so properties. Anyway, you can go through and change all sorts of things on there on the settings if you want to. But there you go. So that is basically the e-control panel there, how that works. The main things that you're going to be using are going to be turning on the lights, turning on the pump, and then checking your battery voltages and your water levels. So that is the e-control unit. I find them really simple to use. People do tend to like them. So yeah, see how you go with it. As I said, you can take that off and put it in the front if you want to. Sometimes people will take them off and put them in a drawer somewhere, because, you know, if you're sort of a bit conscious of somebody else in the vehicle being able to do anything with it, or if you're going to be leaving the vehicle for some time, sometimes it's also a good thing to take them off, because it can prevent little bits of battery drain if you leave them on all the time. So but yeah, there you go. Right, so next things that we've got, so we've got all of these nice cupboards overhead. If I undo these, you can see we've got a little bit of access here to the extractor fan, which is what this is. Not that you probably ever have to do anything with it, but this little thing just here is going to be an awning bracket cover. So there'll be a bolt behind that, basically. And that there is the back of your awning light. All right, so there will be a little bulb in there. That's a little LED one, which is always handy as well. But that is access to that. If that ever goes, then you can literally just replace that little bulb there. There is a switch for the awning light just down here by the door. So one of these two here should turn on the awning light, wherever it might be. But yeah, there you go. So I'm just gonna shut that door again, it's a bit noisy outside. So every single one of your windows in this vehicle has got blinds and blackout screens. All right, so this is your blinds. So this is like your fly screen, basically, coming down like that. And then the actual blackout blind there as well. So every single one has got this. The door itself as well, don't know if you've noticed, but it has actually got a window inside the door as well. Hence the fly screen on the door. So up here on the actual counter here, so we've got, again, because it's Burstner, it's got all of the nice high spec appliances. So you've got the electric ignition on your 3-burner hob. So basically, if you want to use any of these, assuming that your gas is turned on, obviously, that's that one switched on there. You probably can't see it in the daylight really, but it is on. So literally as simple as that. We've got top left here, and then this one here. So yeah, ignition whilst turning in and pushing. That's how you use those. Above that, we have got a couple of switches and power sockets there. So we've got a switch for these lights, a switch for the extractor, and then a 12 volt and 240 volt socket down there as well. Below this, we've got the fridge. So the fridge itself has got a Burstner specific little feature on it as well. So you've got this little, I don't know, spice rack or whatever you want to use it for down here on the front of the fridge. The fridge itself opens up, as you can see there, and has got a safety catch on it as well. So if you basically, you've got, if you look on here as well, on this little safety catch, you've got 2 notches. All right, so you've basically got a little pin that comes down here, which is what it grabs onto. 2 notches on this. So if you are leaving the vehicle for a little while, it's always a good idea to do a couple of things. The fridge will get absolutely horrible smelling if you leave it completely closed up, even if there's nothing in it. If you leave it completely closed up like this and lock it, it will be the smelliest thing you've ever opened up in your life when you come to it, if you leave it for sort of months on end. So you've got this little secondary grabber, if you like. I don't know what to call it really. If you look on there, you can grab it on the second latch there, and then it is still locked, but you've got a little gap there, which basically just allows the fridge to breathe. And then when you come to opening it up the next time, you won't be shocked with the smell that they produce. So it's always a good little tip for that one there. If you are, I mean, obviously if you're using it, you know, day to day to keep it cold, you want it to be completely shut. But if you're leaving it for months on end in storage or something, make sure that you have it on the secondary latch. The same goes for, I'm going to show you how to use the fridge in a sec, but the same goes for if you want to stop any sort of mildew building up or anything like that, these window catches have got the exact same idea. So if I open these up quickly, if you see on the actual catch itself, it's got like a kind of U shape in it. Now, if you want to close it up fully, you'll go all the way over and have it here like that. So that's going to be completely closed up against this rubber seal, and then not allow any air to come in. But if you close it over halfway like this, as you can see, you've got a tiny little gap at the bottom. The window is still locked. You can do that on all of them like that. So that window is not going anywhere at all, but it just means that you won't get mildew building up because it's got that little bit of air to breathe. So if you wanted to do that, you can do. Again, you don't have to do that, but it's just something I would recommend to stop any mold from building up. So how to actually use the fridge. So what you've got here is a Dometic 3-way fridge. You've got a freezer compartment at the top, which needs a new hinge, which I'll do in a sec. So the 3 different ways that this fridge works: you've got gas, you've got 240 volt or 230, it says there, same thing, and 12 volt. So basically, gas is obviously self-explanatory. If you've got the gas on and you've got gas in the bottle, you can use it on the gas. 230 volt is when you're hooked up on the mains. So if you've got a hookup cable plugged in, you can use it on 240. And 12 volt is for when your engine is running. So the idea behind that is that if you're driving somewhere, if you're going to a campsite or something like that, then as you can probably imagine, as I said a minute ago, you shouldn't have your gas switched on when you're driving, so you can't use it on gas. You obviously can't have a hookup cable plugged in whilst you're driving, so you can't use it on 240. So the only way that you can keep the fridge cold as you drive is on 12 volt. So basically what you've got something called a split relay or a split charger. And what it does is it takes some of the power from the alternator that the engine produces as it's running and sends some of it back to the leisure battery as well. So that all the time that you're driving, the leisure battery and the engine battery are being charged up. So what that means is that you can also use that. Essentially the engine is what powers this 12 volt switch here, which is why you can only use it when your engine's running, because it won't do anything unless it is. So basically what you need to do is cool the fridge down first before you leave, either on gas or 240 volt, so gas or hookup, and then switch over to 12 volt just for when you're driving, because all that really does is keep the fridge cold. Switch back to one of the other two when you get to wherever you're going, and then you'll be good to go, carry on that way. So that is how you work the fridge. The gas is the most efficient way of getting the fridge cold. It will get the fridge cold the fastest, and it also means that, unfortunately, with a lot of things in the motorhomes, the less you use them on gas, the more sort of clogged up they'll get and problematic. So the more often that you can use any appliances in this vehicle, especially the boiler as well, on the gas. I mean, actually, I think this one is gas only, so don't worry about that. But the more often that you can use this fridge on gas, the better. Because 9 times out of 10, when somebody comes to us with a fridge problem, they'll say, oh, well, I never use it on the gas, I only ever use it on the mains. And that's what gives us the biggest problems, really. So if you can use it on gas every now and again, or all the time, whichever, that is really helpful for the sort of, prolonging the life of the fridge, really. But yeah, there you go. So down here below the sink, we've got the oven and grill. So admittedly, they are a very small oven. It's great for a grill, but probably not ideal as, for cooking proper things as an oven. But you have got the option of both. So on the right hand side there, you can see you've literally got push in and round to whichever side. So push in and round to the right is for the grill, in and round to the left is for the oven. And it really is as easy as that. You will need an igniter of some sort to light this up, because I don't think it's got an ignition on it. But there you go. Easy as that. So this little cupboard here on the right hand side is also quite important. So if we open this one up, we can see in here, we've got these little red dials. So these are your gas isolation points. So essentially what that means is that you can isolate the gas from specific appliances. So obviously your main port of call, if you're going to turn the gas off, is to just turn the bottle off in the cupboard, because that's going to be, you know, the turning off everything all at once. But if, for example, you were away on holiday and you suddenly thought, oh god, the fridge is leaking gas or something like that, I mean, obviously that would probably never happen, but if it did and you were worried about it, you come in here, find the fridge one and switch it off. So if I show you, for example, if I run you through them, so you've got the fridge at the top, this is your 3-burner hob, boiler, and the oven and grill. So if you thought to yourself, right, okay, the fridge is leaking gas, we come to the fridge one here and then switch it 90 degrees so it's facing away from the pipe that it's feeding, then that is completely isolated from the gas and everything else is still on. All right, so please don't think that you have to do that every time you get out of the vehicle. You absolutely do not. And actually, if you do that every time you get out of the van, you're going to run into sort of bigger issues, because it takes quite a long time for the gas to come back to the appliance that you switch off once you've turned it back on. But yeah, only use those if you think there's a problem with a specific appliance, but that's where they are. Right, so another really important thing. So the last appliance that I've got to actually show you is the boiler, which is that little dial just there. Before you start using the boiler, something really important: if you're going to be using heating, it doesn't really matter, because the heating's completely separate. It is all in the same one unit, but the heating is separate to what I'm about to say. So if you want to use the hot water, if you want to get the water hot from the boiler, massively important thing to do first is to make sure that the boiler is actually full of water. So the only way to actually do that is to come to this little tap just here, or the one in the bathroom, doesn't matter. You can do both if you want to. Make sure that your pump is switched on at the control panel, and then just do this. Basically, just pull the water through on the cold side. So you've got good pressure there. There's no air coming out. It's all good. Turn it to the hot side and do the same. Perfect. So literally just by doing that proves to us that the boiler is full of water. If the boiler didn't have enough water in it, or if it was empty of water or something like that, you would not get decent pressure coming through the hot side of that tap. The reason for that is that the boiler itself is the first in line on the hot water side of the system. So if there's no water in the boiler, or if it isn't completely pressurized, 10 litres, it will fill itself up before it comes through to the tap, basically. So by seeing that the water's coming through nice and clearly on the hot side, proves to us that the boiler is full. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and use the boiler however you want to. If you try and light the boiler, the reason for that is if you try and use the boiler on the hot water side of it and the boiler's empty, then you're just going to be basically just boiling an empty kettle, almost, is what it is. You know, if you'd be trying to heat up nothing and it'll get too hot. So the boiler controls itself are just down here, as I said. So you've got a Trumatic C boiler. So this basically means they call it the Truma Combi. And it's not combi in the sense that it will give you instant hot water. It doesn't work like that. What it will do is it will take about half an hour or so to get the water hot. So if I just sort of show you how to use it. So what you've essentially got is you've got the option of hot water only, which is up 1 or up 2. And that's either at 40 or 60 degrees of hot water. If you want heating only, you go down once to heating only. And if you want both at the same time, so heating and hot water, you go down twice. All right, so essentially, on the older systems, it would say summer setting at the top, so hot water only goes up, and then winter setting is down, so you've got heating and hot water going down. The dial in the middle is mainly just for the heating. So if you wanted to, you know, if you were really in a hurry for some heating, you can turn that way up there. The heating itself will come through any of the little circular vents that are dotted around. So any of these little sort of beige vents, one underneath there as well. That's where the heating comes through to. So yeah, hot water goes up, heating once down, both at the same time, twice down. Easy as that. More storage up here in this little sliding cupboard. And then so towards the back, we've got this massive separate bathroom, which I absolutely love. So lights in here around the shower cubicle work from that switch just there. So I very rarely actually show you anything to do with the shower and the sink and all that sort of stuff, because it's literally just hot and cold left and right. Doesn't really get much easier than that. The only bit that I tend to run through is the toilet, because if you haven't used one of these before, then you're not to know how they work. So the toilet itself, you've got a fresh water flush on it. Okay, so as long as you've got some fresh water in the tank, you'll be able to flush this toilet. You do need to have the pump switch turned on in order to use this. But basically, if you press this little blue button over here on the right hand side, I'll get my finger on it. Flush fluid pumps around the toilet bowl, and then you've got a little handle on your left hand side, little grey handle. Pull that towards you, and that then empties it out into the toilet cassette. Now, if you find that you can't take the cassette out from outside, so if you find that you try and pull it out but it won't move, it means that you've got that handle there in the open position for the flap. So when the handle's in the open position, the toilet cassette is completely locked and you won't be able to take it out from outside without breaking it. So easy as that. As I said, the sink is literally just hot and cold left and right. More lights overhead just here. So this is your main sort of wardrobe at the back. I've taken out this little piece of board here just to show you that you've got more access here to the boiler. So again, if you never needed any extra help or anything like that, obviously we're here for anything, but that is really good access to the boiler there. You very rarely get really good access like that, to be completely honest. But yeah, there you go. So more carpet bits and pieces in here. We tend to take the carpets up just so that you can see the condition of the floor. All of the paperwork for the vehicle is in this brown folder in the back just here. There's absolutely loads of it. The Vision Plus TV aerial booster next door to the actual TV aerial itself. So you've got a little switch on the left hand side which turns the booster on. So without having this booster on, you will not get any decent signal coming through to the TV. So you need to have that on before you start trying to use that. Other than that, I think that's about it. If I just pop this back here, I'll do that properly in a minute when I've got another hand. But yeah, so I think I've covered everything. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.